The week of April 17th, global online transactions increased a total of 42%. Page views, on the other hand, increased 25%. In fact, the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic has pushed some services to be done completely online due to the necessity to limit person-to-person interaction. However, federal election systems have seen little to no effort to adapt, even though it is an electoral year for Iran and the United States. But electoral experts agree that the pandemic puts elections' integrity at risk. In the US, 16 states had to delay their primaries, and Iran only had a turnout of 43% in its parliamentary elections. This was their lowest turnout in history. Voters had to choose between their health and the electoral process. This shows that the current electoral system is flawed since it relies too heavily on the fact that voters can gather and that they can travel long distances to the booth. It's not the first time we see flaws in the system. Traditional voting is inefficient as many students, elderly people, and workers all run into major inconveniences on election day, where they must stop what they're doing and go to a designated place to cast their vote. Students sometimes have to skip their classes and end school early to go vote. Elderly people have to find caretakers or wait for their family to drive them to the place. Workers will take 3 to 4 hours of break in the middle of the day to run to the voting booth to cast their vote, which is a major inconvenience for both the worker and their employer. These kinds of barriers reduce voter turnout, which has been on a decline in Canada for decades, as you can see in this graph. In fact, this table shows that 58% of non-voting Canadians cite everyday circumstances as a factor that had prevented them from voting. However, Statistics Canada showed that 53% of Canadians would vote online if given the chance. So our company, Blue Solutions, aims to improve voter turnout by developing a secure and robust online voting platform for the Canadian citizens to cast their vote online and choose their leaders without having to worry about any of their information being stolen. We are a company founded in Montreal by 5 McGill graduates who met at a networking event during our undergraduate years. After completing our bachelor's in Montreal, our paths have diverged, all pursuing our studies in renowned universities across the world. We then reunited and threw ourselves in the tech industry by building from scratch a software company called Blue Solutions Inc. Since then, we set many records, having increased Montreal's voter turnout rate by 5% by introducing a municipal online electoral platform. Our software system will allow the people to vote at their own convenience and will help them save a lot of commuting time. Even though we know that voters are usually apprehensive over this idea, our company has a history of providing efficient online voting platforms. Therefore, we're the perfect people to pioneer this task.
Due to the severity of the project, only the key personnel will oversee and take responsibility for implementing the online voting system. In the next couple of slides, we will look over at the executive team of Blue Solution who will be responsible. To begin with, Camille Gaudreau is our Chief Executive Officer. She holds a bachelor's degree of software engineering from McGill University, and she has a master's of business management from Stanford. She will be overseeing all operations undertaken by Blue Solutions, and she will ensure the growth strategies and how to market the business in order to maintain profitability and efficiency. Secondly, we have Anna Dektarov, who is our Chief Finance Officer. She is responsible for managing and analyzing the financial actions of the company. Through her expertise in financial planning, she will ensure that the company is always cash flow positive through evaluating expenses, revenues, and by tracking the market. Thirdly, our Chief Information Security Officer, Eric Guan, is a Harvard graduate and holds a bachelor's degree of computer science as well as a master's of cybersecurity. As an information security officer, Eric will be in charge of protecting the information and data through monitoring the IT system by checking systems vulnerabilities and neutralizing any threats or attacks in the software. Next, we have Wagner-Trudel, who is our Senior Executive Developer. Raphael is a Stanford graduate and holds a bachelor's degree in computer science from McGill University. Raphael was a senior developer for both Google and Microsoft, and having worked at these companies for more than 6 years, Raphael just joined our team last year. Therefore, as a senior executive, he will be overlooking a team of developers to ensure that the products are error-free by performing a series of tests to ensure debugging. Lastly, our Chief Technology Officer, Ahmed Siddiqui, is an experienced product designer with a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from McGill and a master's from Harvard. Prior to working at Blue Solutions, Ahmed was a product manager at Dell. After joining Blue Solutions, Ahmed will be overseeing the organization's engineering department, and he will be optimizing the software systems to enhance the products and services to cater to the needs of customers.
The solution that we propose takes into consideration many factors that will ensure that Canadian voters fully trust our system. Our software will meet the highest standards in cybersecurity to prevent from identity theft or any other potential issues associated when navigating an online environment. We will also make sure to build a really simple and user-friendly interface so that voters truly have a good experience when using it. So to begin with, the access link will be on the homepage of the Canadian government website. Since citizens already access this website for their taxes or for other services, they already trust it and they won't have to go on any other third-party webpage that they might find suspicious. Then on the webpage, they will be redirected by a link to our voting platform. And like I said earlier, the interface will be as simple as possible to ensure a straightforward process, even for people who aren't used to navigate online. One of the biggest challenges for such a platform is to verify the identity of users to, of course, ensure integrity of the vote. Now, verifying identity is a thing, but a vote also needs to be anonymous. So this is why our platform won't require any other personal information than the social entrance numbers, which won't be attached to any name or other personal information in our databases. So that basically makes these numbers useless in the event of a breach, since you can't use this number alone. So to verify the identity of users, the government will mail to all registered voters a sort of card that contains a unique voting code. And this voting code is attached in a database to the social entrance number of the person, and this database that contains only the social entrance numbers with the associated code will be shared to our company. Now the users will only need these two pieces of information to access their voting session. So I'm pretty sure that by now you've pretty much figured how this whole thing works, but I'm quickly gonna explain it just so everything is clear. So first of all, the user will go on the Canadian government website, will open the link, and then the user will be prompted to enter the voting code as well as their social entrance number. Then a one-time voting session will be open and they can proceed with their vote. So that's roughly how this whole thing's gonna work.
In order for the system to be implemented for the public, security measures must be established. This will ensure the privacy and security of the voters. Our system is using a data homomorphic encryption, which is a process which allows it to manipulate data without having to decrypt it. This ensures a high level of security since data is most vulnerable during decryption. Therefore, this will prevent all possible data breaches. We estimate that our system will be fully implemented onto the Canadian government website in approximately 2 years. Since the government requires the system to be implemented at least 6 months prior to the next federal elections, which is in October 16, 2023, We plan to start this project during the month of February. This estimation includes the development of the software and running multiple tests. First, the voting software will be developed by our software engineers. The system must be able to receive the citizens' votes and be able to tally up the votes in each seat. Our engineers must make sure that there must not be any mistakes in tallying up the votes. This process should take approximately 1 year and a half. Then, once the main system is developed, tests must be run in order to make sure that the numbers are correct, that there cannot be any duplicate votes, and etc. These tests and debugging phases can last from 3 months up until the deadline. Finally, the design of the website will take roughly 3 months. This website will provide a very simple and straightforward user interface. And if everything goes according to plan, the next Canadian federal elections will likely be set online.
The total budget allowed for the proposal of our system is approximately $30 million. The budget will be separated into 3 parts. The first one is the fixed cost, the second one will be the administration, and the last one will be the development aspect of our system. So to start off with, the fixed cost will take approximately $3 million of the total budget. This includes the rent of the building we will be working with, as well as the equipment we will need to use. So for an office that is situated in Lachine and is 7,000 square feet, we will need a little bit less than $3 million. The rest of the money allowed for fixed costs is given to the equipment we will need to use. So this includes business laptops, programming computers, the price for hosting a website, and the patent of our system. This patent will only be paid for Canada. For administrative costs, we will have to include the price of the employees as well as advertising. All included, this will cost around $11 million. So we will need to hire 46 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. This part-time employee is a political consultant, and we will need to hire them because we want to make sure that we respect every procedure of the election process. So if the part-time employee works within our company for 1 year, the price for labor will be around $10 million. The other thing included in the administrative costs is the campaign. We will publish a public education campaign. This is to aim to educate the general public to how the new online system will work to prepare them for the upcoming elections. We did this in order to help people through the system of online voting, because it might be confusing for some people who are not technologically savvy. So this will be done through television advertising, and it will cost approximately $1 million. The last part of our budget is the development. This aspect is separated into 3 parts: the design, the coding, and the testing of the code. So the total cost is estimated to be around $7 million. For the designing and coding part, we will spend $3.5 million, so half of the budget for the development. This will include the cybersecurity of our system. This is because it's very, very important. It's a very important aspect of our implementations because elections are supposed to be reliable and it should be safe for the user to use. So because of that, we decided to spend at least 50% of the $3.5 million to cybersecurity. The other half of the $7 million will be spent on testing our system. It can be very pricey to run tests and debug. This is the code that is already written. And so we allocated a lot of money there to make sure that online voting will be a pleasant and secure experience for all the voters.
Thank you for listening to us, and if you have any further questions regarding the software systems or the business proposal, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of the executives mentioned above.